Hello, everyone. This is Jim Biringer, NHLRumors.com. Click that notification button, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We're talking about Seth Jones going from the Chicago Blackhawks to the Florida Panthers on a trade that happened Saturday night during the 2025 Stadium Series game between the Columbus Blue Jackets and Detroit Red Wings. It was the talk of the town along with the game at Ohio State University. It was a big trade. Jones was on the trade bait boards. He was top defenseman out there from the fourth period to TSN to Sportsnet to Daily Faceoff and everybody in between. It's been rumor season, and Elliot Friedman had been one of the first to talk about Seth Jones possibly going to the Florida Panthers when it was made known he would be willing to waive his no movement clause to get traded from Chicago. In an interview with Ben Pope back during the Four Nations face-off, a little right after the final, it came out, and things started to heat up. Look, he said he wanted to go to contender. Two teams that were willing to do it was going to be Dallas, where he wanted to go in the first place when he asked for a trade from Columbus, and they had to go to Chicago for it, and the Florida Panthers. That was it. Those were the only two contenders he was going to. Dallas had the money to do it, but they weren't interested because, well, they didn't want 5 more years at around $6 million that they needed to pay. Yes, the Chicago Blackhawks have to eat 25% of Seth Jones' $9.5 million AAV over the next 5 years, but they get goaltender Spencer Knight and a conditional first-round pick. Now, it could be a 2026 or it could be a 2027, depending on what happens with another trade for Florida. But Spencer Knight for Chicago is a goalie of the future with Soderboom there, and they need draft capital because this team is just young, and they need to rebuild, and you got to get good players around Connor Bedard. As far as Seth Jones goes, look, he's one of the better defensemen in the National Hockey League. He's eating a lot of minutes in Chicago because he has to. But Seth Jones in Paul Maurice's system, well, he's going to be a second-line right-shot defenseman. The Florida Panthers needed a right-shot D because they needed somebody behind Aaron Ekblad. Remember, they didn't have Oliver Ekman-Larsson anymore. He's in Toronto. He was such a great player for them. He didn't have Brandon Montour. He was over in the Seattle Kraken. So they couldn't afford to bring those guys back with the Sam Reinhart deal. So what does Bill Zito do? Well, he trades for Seth Jones. He could be the possible replacement for Aaron Ekblad, who will be a free agent at the end of this year. Now we'll see what they do. But there have been rumblings last year at the draft that potentially Florida was looking to move on from Aaron Ekblad. Now, if Ekblad is moved on, then Jones moves up to the top pairing. But if Ekblad stays, now you have a nice 1-2 combination there on your defense on the right side. Look, he could possibly be better than what Oliver Ekman-Larsson was, though Ekman-Larsson helped them win a Stanley Cup. He was really sturdy back there. Remember, that was a great deal. You know, you get him cheap, rental player. He stays on, helps them win a cup, get to a final. Now you acquire Seth Jones. He's going to help the power play. His minutes are reduced. He plays in a position he needs to be able to play in because he's still a really good defenseman. You saw what he was in Columbus. You saw what he was in Nashville, especially with Zach Werenski in Columbus. And, you know, he would have been open to going to Columbus from reports, right? Out of Columbus, talking with people there in Columbus during the Stadium Series game. He was willing to go there. It was kind of funny, though. He kind of wanted out, and now the team's good and he wanted back. But he doesn't go there. He doesn't go to Dallas. He goes to Florida. The other piece of the news is Matthew Tkachuk's on LTIR. His salary, now they can use about $8.7 million for trade deadline purposes on the cap, and that's huge, right? And Tkachuk got hurt during the Four Nations face-off in the first game against Canada. There are a lot of inklings from myself and Chris Wassel, who also works at NHLRumors.com, that Tkachuk was probably going to be shut down for the rest of the regular season. Paul Maurice came out multiple times saying he was playing this season, but he never indicated, you know, regular season or playoffs. Remember, this season does include the playoffs, everybody. And it sounded like this was a long-term injury coming out of Four Nations, and he would miss some time. He was getting more opinions, but indications are he's going to be shut down for the rest of the regular season, and he'll be ready in time for the Stanley Cup playoffs as the Florida Panthers look to go back for a third straight year, similar to what the Tampa Bay Lightning did. And Bill Zito, again, comes from the Bill Foley school of thought. They're both Army guys, right? You know, it's a winning business. This is what Bill Zito's done. He's made great trades, great signings. And you're going to be interested to see, you know, with Jones there, you move out Spencer Knight's $4.5 million. And they took a high goalie. They signed Bobrovsky at the time. that almost became an albatross. But Spencer Knight has so many issues, and you're able to shred that salary because maybe you would have had to move a guy like Carter Verhaeghe down the line to make the money work. You don't. You have LTIR space, so now you could just make it an off-season problem and have to wait until September to readjust your books. So the Florida Panthers get better. The balance of power continues to shift in the Eastern Conference as they make moves. We also saw Ryan Lindgren move from New York to Colorado as Colorado tried to pick up a defenseman. We saw Gustav Nyquist move from the Nashville Predators to the Minnesota Wild. But you're seeing these high prices for these players, and you're wondering what other teams are going to do. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Florida Panthers do because of the cap space. Do they add a forward? Do they add another defenseman? You never have enough D right now during these runs, right? Do they add a backup goalie somewhere? You know, a sturdier one. They have the money to do it. The cap goes away come the playoffs. So the Florida Panthers are a team to me that they could be on the hunt for something. No pun intended there, because it's hashtag time to hunt for the Florida Panthers, since they are the Cats and the champs. And the reigning champs just got better on defense. And, you know, Seth Jones could play in all situations. So it's a great ad for this team. The trade season is here. We're starting to see some more trades pick up after it was quiet after those 3 blockbuster trades of JT Miller to New York Rangers, Mikko Rantanen going to Carolina Hurricanes. And we'll have another rumors video for you shortly talking about some of these situations in Vancouver, in Montreal, Philadelphia, in Carolina. What's going to happen with some of these players? Who's going to move from the island? But we've talked here about Seth Jones traded from Chicago to Florida. Guys, subscribe again. Click the notify button. Like the video. Jim Biringer, NHLRumors.com. Take care. We'll be back again real soon.